Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. I'll be signing House Bill 1325 relating to biosecurity, or also known as the Clift-Tsuji Act. This bill requires the Department of Agriculture to establish parameters and construction requirements for biosecurity facilities at our ports of entry to provide for and ensure the safety of agricultural and food commodities. This bill also funds the biosecurity program, including projects for replacements of high-risk crops. The biosecurity program is a vital part of our state's prevention system to help stop the entry of invasive species into our ecosystem, while at the same time allowing our agricultural industries to increase levels of self-sufficiency and sustainability. Combating invasive species, as we know, is becoming a more and more important focus of the state administration and the industry, for that matter, as we have to all work together to find ways to keep invasive species out of our environment, but I think more importantly, also be able to respond in a timely manner so that these species cannot get established in our communities. This is a bill that Representative Clift-Tsuji worked tirelessly on. Just wanted to thank Ryan and Ashley for being here. I do know, and he know personally, that he was committed to the prevention of invasive species entering our environment, but more importantly, being committed to protect our environment and giving our local farmers the best opportunity to be successful. And with that, I'd like to invite Representative Yamashita to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, the governor kind of explained what the bill would do, and I was going to say a little bit about what the bill does, but let me say this. On behalf of my friend, Clift-Tsuji, who very early on in his career knew the importance of biosecurity. In fact, when he ran the first time, Coqui Frog was kind of his platform. And we were freshmen when we came in together. And he ran on that this was a priority. And he became the vice chair of agriculture that year. And Juna Binsai was the chair, and there was some emergency in the Philippines, so he had to leave, and Cliff was there, and then they were coming up with what was the majority package. So Cliff was the vice chair, so Marcus Ushiro was the majority leader at the time, asked Cliff, so what's the priority? And then he told him, Coqui Frog. So Coqui Frog became the priority, and then June came back and said, Tsuji, what is this? Frog, right? But that's how he was. He was relentless, and he, when he became involved and committed to an issue, he did everything he could to make sure. And biosecurity was always, he knew that it would be more difficult to eradicate, so he kind of always believed that dealing with it up front was always a priority. And in fact, Governor, this is the bill that when he was going to be wheeled into surgery, he told his son Ryan that don't forget that I need to talk to the governor about this bill. And so, on behalf of my friend, thank you. And thank you to my colleagues for supporting this bill.
Thank you. Ryan, did you want to say a few words?
I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I can't promise you. I just want to thank everybody for being here. This obviously has been a long journey for us, and this is something that my dad was very passionate about. This isn't something that just happened during his time, right before this legislative session. He's been working on this for many, many years. And Rep. Yamashita is correct when he said that this was one of the last things that was on his mind. In fact, the day before my dad went into surgery, the governor called and said he wanted to come by to just see my dad and talk to my dad. And I had to tell him no, not to come. Because I knew that if the governor came, my dad would end up talking to him about this bill. And I was like, I don't want him worrying about anything but getting better and worrying about his health. So I said, thank you, Governor, but you can come tomorrow after the surgery. And so while he was getting wheeled in, he just was really adamant that he wanted to schedule this meeting because it got rescheduled, obviously. And so it was one of the last things that was on his mind. I don't normally, I've never really shared this story, but I don't know, I kind of just feel led to do it now. So after my dad's in surgery, and about 2 hours into the surgery, the doctors came out and told me they didn't think he was going to make it. So they had been working on him for about 15 minutes, and they said that, just to prepare yourself, they don't think he's going to make it through. And so I went back into the waiting room, and they called me back, and they said, okay, he came out of surgery. We were operating, we finished it, we brought him back, but he's been gone for 25 minutes. We don't know what kind of damage what's going to happen to him. And so I went in, and I was standing next to him, and I was holding his hand, and I was talking to him, and I felt his hand grab my hand, and he grabbed my hand, and I just felt that as a sign that he was listening to me and that he could understand what he was saying. And one of the last things that I told him was that I was going to take care of it, that I knew this bill was important to him, and so I was going to do everything I could to make sure that it passed. And I told him if he had to go, he could go. He could stop fighting, and he didn't have to fight anymore. And so, and as soon as I said that, he left us. So for me, this has just been something that, sort of my last promise that I kind of made to my dad. So thank you, Governor. And thank you to so many people who are here who worked so hard on this. I mean, people flying in from Hilo, from Maui. Sorry, oh gosh. And to all his fellow lawmakers, and Senator Takuda, who, in the midst of the busy Ways and Means session and during the final days, she took time to call me and told me she was going to do everything she could to help. So thank you so much, Senator Takuda, for being my dad's friend and just for helping us with this bill. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Governor, for your friendship and for this. So thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. The legislators can come up, please. House Bill 1325, House Draft 1, Senate Draft 1, Conference Draft 1, Bill for an Act relating to biosecurity. Is now law in the state of Hawaii is Act 163.
Thank you.
Okay, if you guys can just stay up here, we're going to take a few pictures.
Belinda, you're more sharp. Just as wide.
There goes Mr. Troy again, no filter.
Like in between their heads.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, good.